Hey, welcome to episode 16 of the My Inner Struggle podcast. I'm Laura.
Hi, I'm Julie.
How's it going today?
It's fantastic. How are you?
Is it fantastic?
It is.
I'm fucking great.
Okay.
We've talked a lot lately about all these things about our podcast on happiness and stuff like that. If you haven't watched the one on happiness, I think that was one of my favorite ones, honestly. And, I dropped Matthew off at football camp and I was headed here and I legit had a smile on my face from ear to ear. And you were like echoing in my head how we said on that episode. I'm trying not to look at you because I know the sound is always an issue, but I like looking at you. so I know. So how you said that, and that wasn't even in the happiness episode. That was in another episode that you said like when you smile, it actually makes you feel happier. So it's sort of like kind of recycles, right? So you're feeling happy, you're smiling, and the smiling is making you feel happy, right? Yeah. So I was smiling in the car on my way here because I feel like all of these doors are opening for me right now, and like you have exciting things happening too, and I won't blow it if you don't want to share it, that's fine. But like it's just all coming together and it feels so good because it was stressful for a little while for both of us. And while we love doing this, obviously we still have, families to support and, all of that. So I just feel great.
It's been a great, even last week, it was prom. So, there's
so many good things, right?
There was a lot. And then we had our last softball banquet this week, which was bittersweet, it's, moving on and, graduations and a week and a half.
Yeah. Which is crazy. And
so it's a lot.
I know you called me the other day and you're like, I have this banquet and that banquet and this banquet. And I'm like, where do I get a free dinner?
I have, we had one on Tuesday and then I've got two next week. So, but Claire, she already warned me.
What nights are those? Can I get a doggy bag?
FFA banquet. She's like, it's going to be long. And I was like, well, how long is long? Like, normally banquets are like, 2 hours, give or take?
I guess.
Yeah. She's like, it's probably going to be between 4 and 4.5 hours. I was like, oh.
It's funny. I sat at senior awards night last night at the college, and that legit, she had to be there by 6:30, which is fine.
Yeah.
It was packed already, obviously, because everybody's coming together. So your kid comes early, you're coming early, most of the time, right? Yeah. We didn't really get out of there until 9:30.
I watched it on YouTube.
Oh, did you?
So they had a link on YouTube.
Oh my gosh. I cried. I cried like legit 3 times. Yeah. It was, I'm so impressed that you did. There were so many great speeches, honestly. Very, very moving. Lots of scholarships that honored a lot of people that have passed and did good things. And it was just so moving in so many ways. And I'm super proud of Emily, obviously, for really coming out of her shell. And obviously working hard, and obviously she's talented, but coming out of her shell has just been an amazing experience to watch.
No, that's I know. As soon as they started talking, I said to Jeremy, I was like, "Oh, that's Emily."
Yeah, that's so cool.
But the other one I really, really liked. I loved at the end. It was Josh and Ryan, and I can't remember the girl's name, and I'm so sorry. But they did speeches to Mr. Waldron.
Yes.
And I thought that was
Danielle.
Yes. And I thought that was so great because kids really a lot of kids don't public speak well. And those 3 kids really and it was heartfelt and it
really, really was. The young man that went last, I love that. Okay. So I don't know him, obviously. So I love that he was I didn't know him personally. And he was so raw with his feelings because he's like, my first appointment, I totally stood him up, and that was just so honest, and people like that, and it's genuine. And there was just really a lot of moving things. And of course I'm emotional as a mom, as are you, right? Because I told Emily the other day, I'm like, I forget. Oh, so I was in the driveway and she pulled up next to me, and it's very rare that we're sitting in our cars, side by side. And I said that I looked over at her, I said, and all I could think was you and your little cozy coop, I can't even believe this. And now she's all set for orientation and she's getting her student ID for college. And oh my gosh.
Karen went out to her school on Monday to visit it and look at it. And So it's a lot. I feel like the next couple of weeks are just gonna fly by.
Yeah.
So, but you know what?
Wow, that was a lot of mom stuff,
That
huh?
was a lot of love.
It's good though. It's life, right? So
Grown and flown. I don't know if you follow
no,
her.
I'll have to look it up.
But she has, and it's true. And there's this whole she does this whole like thing on that this stage kids that are that are graduating, they become like big a-holes, and it's a real thing, and it's them almost protecting themselves from missing their parents and their siblings and stuff, so they
I
make
could
it
see
hard
that.
as possible to
Yes.
live with them.
It's funny because I was, Ben and I were there last night, like with the kids, right? And so we were done, and she wasn't the people that were at the awards are not really the people that she hangs out with necessarily. There's a few,
Yeah.
but there's a ton of people and families and whatever. And she's, not a crowds person,
Yeah.
right? And so she kind of looked at me, and I could tell it's like that mood, like no matter what's going to come out of my mouth, I'm wrong. So I just looked at Ben, and he's like, we both like gave each other a look, and I'm like, I think that we've really had it lucky all this time, because Emily and I have always had a really close relationship, and I never had those like horrible teenage years. And I was like, I hope that's not now, because I'm not like, I thought we made it through, unscathed.
Herself and you
Yeah.
for
Oh my gosh. But she got it. But she got over it. After we got out of there, she was fine. She's just like, I hate crowds. And I understand that, So last week, did you have anything else?
I was going to say, let's dive into.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, I'm chatty Kathy. I'm just feeling so good. So last week we're starting fresh tomorrow. If you haven't gotten to watch the episode, please watch it. It's actually, I think other than our first episode, it's been watched the most in the first 24 hours ever. And I've gotten some great, comments and feedback on it. So that's really neat. Basically just not bringing with you the stuff that's left at the end of the day. Start fresh tomorrow, obviously. So today we were going to talk about taking responsibility.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is actually one of the first topics where I was like, I could talk about this. I could talk about this forever.
Really? Okay. Yes. I wasn't expecting you to say that. Okay. I thought you were going to say you didn't like it. Okay.
No, I actually have 2 quotes today.
Okay.
I know I told you, but
okay.
I didn't tell you the quotes. So I'm going to do one now, and then I'm going to do one when we wrap up.
Okay.
Because I couldn't decide which one really spoke to me more. So the first one is, responsibility is accepting that you are the cause and the solution of the matter.
Ooh, I really, really like that. That is so spot on.
I know.
That's like a full-on definition, basically.
I know. So, responsibility, it's one of those things that, I am very, conscious of making sure that my actions and the things that I say are, I live my life with integrity and, ethics, and I'm really trying to pass that down to my kids.
Do you though?
I do. And I'm really trying to pass that down to my kids and making them responsible. And then sometimes when they're not, or they do something like Claire's time management, not as responsible as I would like for it to be.
Okay.
And I just had this conversation with Jeremy when I was on my way here. I was like, her curfew is during the week, it's 10 o'clock. So, 10:03, 10:06, 10:10 rolls in till last night. She came home at 10:03 and she told me she was dropping somebody off, and they lived the street up from us, right?
Right.
But she pulled in, and a state trooper pulled in right behind her, and she's like, I thought you called the state police because I was past curfew.
Good. Did you really?
I said, maybe I did. She was like, no, he pulled in and parked. And I was like, well, maybe he just makes you think he didn't.
That's really funny. Nothing like scared straight, and you didn't even have to do anything.
But your curfew was 10, so be responsible and be home and in the house. Like even work, if my job starts at 8 o'clock, I am there with all of my stuff put away and my computer's on, and I'm ready to go at 7:55, because 8 o'clock means you start at 8 o'clock.
I think there's a level of respect that goes along with that taking responsibility, because when, if it was me and I'm Claire and I'm coming home and I'm at 10:03, all right, I kind of see like a window of 5 minutes on either end I understand, but that's my opinion.
Yeah.
For something like that, if you're going to a doctor's appointment, you're legit late.
Well,
Period. You know, if you're logging into work 3 minutes
Yeah.
late, you're late. But you know, like if it's, you know, if you're, I get what you're saying. Like it's like pick your battles. Not, and that's me.
Yeah.
But I've never really had that issue before either. So, you know, with the kid,
Kids a hellion, yeah.
I'm sure. What did you say?
Kids a hellion.
No, I'm like, Emily probably doesn't go out as much as like Claire goes out like that. You know what I mean? Like, so like it's a little different. That's all. And so, you know, she has maybe a bigger social circle, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I haven't really had to deal with that. I can guarantee you I will be with Matthew. And then Evelyn is a whole other story.
Because I think Austin will be the opposite.
Probably, yes. Like Emily likes rules. When she probably would murder me for saying this. So she was at the beach after prom or whatever, and she's like, "Mom, there's definitely underage drinking going on." She's like, it makes me uncomfortable because people were being kind of crazy. Yeah. And so she's afraid of like what could happen. So I can understand that. And she felt safer in a different environment. So that's just her. Yes.
That's her taking responsibility for herself.
Yes. She is the responsible one. There's no doubt. She's probably more responsible than me. Let's face it. But yeah. So.
Well, you'll be happy. Well, maybe not happy because you think this is okay. So I talked to Nicole about it. And I was like, I don't understand why she just can't manage her time. Like when she gets to college, she can't just come into class whenever she wants. Like manage your time. So I said to Nicole, I'm like, that's it. For every minute that she's past curfew, I'm making her 5 minutes early. So if she's comes in at 10:05, that means the next day her curfew's 9:30.
Right. Well, and that's important to you.
Yeah.
So Emily, in that instance, she's not going out all the time. It's like hey, I'm going to go pick up this person. We're doing this. And then I'm going to be home. It's not, it's just different. I don't know.
And it's funny because, I tell her 10 o'clock, but I also track her on Life 3, we share Life 360, both of my kids and I do. But before she started driving, I had seen something on social media, and it was from an attorney actually. And she was a parent, and she said her number one, not rule, but like her number one guide that she gave herself when her kid started driving was not that you have to be home in 10 minutes or whatever. It was, this is what time you're home. Make sure you leave yourself enough time. And if she saw they weren't there, you know what I mean?
Right.
But she never told them like, okay, because she didn't want them, racing home or driving, not driving safely or whatever. Right. So I'm really conscious of like saying, okay, well, it says you're 20 minutes away and your curfew's in 10 minutes. So I know you're not going to make it home on time. But please just,
do you do that?
What?
Have you done that?
I have never texted her that, but I have tracked her when it's getting close to curfew to see where she is.
Right.
And then I mentally prepare myself for the fact that she's, coming in 10 minutes late.
Right.
And the thing is we wait up for her. So we don't go to, I like to
No, I do the same thing. And she left, they were hanging out at my house. She had to go bring somebody home. And so I know where they live and all of that. And I was looking, I legit, I was waiting up and I fell asleep and she woke me up and I was like, I am so sorry. She was on her way, but I was so tired that night. But, anyway, good for, yes.
Taking responsibility for it. Then that's one of the things that drives me crazy. Time, punctuality and time, it drives me crazy when I think just because to your point, I think it is a lack of respect. When somebody says, okay, be here at this time and I'm going to be waiting for you, even if it's your parents.
It's kind of your parents. And and I think it depends on the situation. So if you have, there's an entrepreneur that I talked to and I'm working with, and we're working on this little passion project together. And we've met up twice and both of us were late both times, texting each other. And I'm like, hey, sorry, I got held up with the landscaper in the driveway. I'll be there in 5 minutes. He's like, I'm 10 minutes behind you, So, and then we walked into the diner the last time. I'm like, I love that we have this relationship because at least neither one of us is pissed or waiting at the other one because we understand there's other things that can happen. You know what I mean? If you're blocked in the driveway by the landscaper, like I can't really help that. However, if you're in the kitchen, making a gourmet breakfast and you're 5 minutes late to log on to work or something like that, and you're not sitting in front of your computer, that is legit your, yeah. So taking responsibility for yourself and stop blaming everyone else. That's, I had a boss once that it was like everybody else's problem for, his mishap, basically. Oh, well, the bank screwed up. They don't know what they're doing, like all of these things. But no, it's you. Yeah. You didn't take responsibility. You bounced the check. You legit, you knew these things. Don't blame everybody else. Now, there's always, other factors, but when it's your problem, but you're blaming everybody else, around you or whatever. I had someone recently, and I want to use this example because remember I said last week that I was like, I have a story to share, and I'm 99.9% sure she doesn't watch the podcast. So she borrowed my power washer, like probably almost a year ago. And, I would say she's like, I'm friends with her, I guess I would say. But she is someone that is stuck in that victim role all the time. And that's kind of coexists with not taking responsibility for yourself. Right. And so I realized I was cleaning out the garage a couple weeks ago with the kids and stuff like that. And I'm like, where's the power washer? So I texted her. I'm like, hey, do you by chance have my power washer? And she's like, oh yeah, I do. I'm sorry. I keep meaning to text you about it. I apologize. I'll drop it off on Monday or whatever. So I said, okay, great. So she's dropping it off, and I'm sitting at my kitchen table. I was on a call. So I was like, hey, just, if you don't mind leaving in front of the garage, I'm on the phone right now. So she's like, oh, no problem. She drops it off, and then she like leaves, and then she texts me and she's like, sorry about that, that I kept it so long. She's like, also sorry, the cord isn't wound up. I asked my son to do it, but he didn't do it. And I walked out there and I'm like, it's a fucking mess. Yeah. It's all tangled. And it's like, why are you blaming your son? Yeah. You are the one that borrowed it. Used it. Yeah. And you're giving it back to me in that condition. And I legit almost took a picture of it to send to you, but I was like, I'm not going to feed into this negative energy, but that is a prime example at not taking responsibility for yourself. Yeah. And it just so happens that person, like I care about her and I tried to help her. And, it's a theme in my life, but she wasn't doing the work. She doesn't take responsibility for herself. She's constantly in the victim role. I can't do this because of money. I can't do that, whatever, but doesn't do anything to get out of that situation. Yeah. Right. So like I've found myself in that position before. Would I claim the single mom card? I'm a homeowner. I can't do it all myself. Yeah. Right. But at some point you have to make a fucking list of the shit that you need to fix and start crossing it off the list. Figure out a way. Right. So, and I do
responsibility for the stuff that you have to do.
Right. Because it's my house. It's my house. Right. No one else is going to do it for me. And that's the same with, building a business, losing weight, finding a job. If you're wandering through life unhappy, that's on you. That's on you. And no one else.
I just heard somebody, who was it? Oh, it might have been, maybe it was last night at the senior awards. Somebody in one of the speeches had said, you are responsible for three things.
Yes.
How you think, how you feel, and how you act.
Yes.
Those are the three things.
Right. And we've talked about that so many times, right? About in all those aspects of life. Yes.
Those are the three things that you can control in your life. How you think, how you feel, and how you act.
Yeah. Right? There is one, I never want to out, my ex-husband on anything. And this isn't necessarily a negative thing. We were much younger at the time, but I can remember we lived in this house and we didn't have a lot of money, but we were trying to work on the yard. It was a mess. I don't even know if you saw it in the beginning. It was a mess. There were overgrown trees everywhere. You couldn't even see, when you look out my kitchen past the deck, you couldn't see the yard. Oh, wow. It was yeah. So we did a lot. And there was a time that we cleaned out all along the neighbor's fence. And we're like, okay, we're going to put mulch down. So we had someone come give us an estimate for mulch. And it was a lot of money. It was probably $1,200. And that was so far from like what we could do at the
Right,
time.
right.
You know, we were, you know, this is probably 15 years ago. We had 2 tiny children
Yeah.
and, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. So I can remember talking about it and he just folded at the time. Like he legit couldn't, he was just like, I may as well, like, we can't do that.
Yeah.
So now what? And that memory kind of keeps sticking in my mind because at the time I'm sitting here like, well, I'm going to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I did. But, you know, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
it's the difference. So that's 15 years ago
Yeah.
and I figured it out. I borrowed a truck from a friend and I went and I got that like super cheap mulch at the dump because it's like all along the tree line.
Yeah.
No one's looking at it. It's not the nice mulch in your front flower beds.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time doing that. So we came up with a solution. But it was just interesting. Fast forward 15 years later in my life, and I'm like, I was this person the whole time. So it was just kind of reflective.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that. And that was like a good example to me of like, you know, you have this situation where you're like, okay, you know, now what am I going to figure out? You know, like I left my job a year and a half ago and I had no income for a good 9 months, really, more or less. And that was scary, but I had to prioritize things and get crafty at times. And sometimes it was super stressful, sometimes, but you have to keep going and figuring out a way. And if I had just sort of folded and I could just go back to bed every morning if I wanted to. And there were days where I definitely wanted to. There was days that I definitely spent depressed and felt defeated, but you know, feel it, understand it, and get the fuck back up because this is it. Like no one else is going to fix it for you, right?
It's
Man.
all about taking responsibility.
I feel so passionate this week. Rose said that to me too. Like she's like, I'm like, I'm sorry if I overstepped, and she's like, no, you're passionate. That's what I love about you. Like I can't let it go. Like I am finding that I said this to you a few weeks ago. I'm finding that my tolerance is lower and lower for people that don't help themselves.
Yes, it goes back to what I said in one of my quotes a couple weeks ago. If it doesn't add value to your life, it doesn't belong in your life.
Right.
People, things, places.
I know, and I feel bad in a way because there's like that woman that I was talking about with the power washer. Like I feel bad, but that is just not the energy that I need.
Right.
You know, and that sounds so mean. And I hope that she gets over the hump and she can help herself and move forward. But I found that in a lot of different areas in my life. And it's like, you know, I've said this before as you go, well, when you go through, right? You were when we reconnected, you were one of the people that I said, I was like, I felt so alone because I lost all these people in my life. Right. And you're like, sometimes the brave one stands alone. And when you said that to me, I was like, holy shit. You're right.
You know, it's funny because I used to say, another one of my things I used to say all the time.
You're like the quote master.
I feel like a good quote really can like
I love
change
them.
your mindset.
I love them.
I do. But it was like, why do you always, like somebody said, why do you always have to take the high road? And you know, the thing is like, why do you assume there's 2 roads?
Ooh.
Right.
Okay.
Like, you know, so I always try to take the high road and lead by example. And that's just, you know, something that I personally, you know,
that's your core belief, right?
It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm making a difference and, you know, whatever the case may be. But it's true. Like, you know what? Somebody's looking at you saying, oh, why is she doing this? And, you know, or whatever. Well, that's what is driving you to be a better person, driving you to make life better for yourself,
right?
For your kids.
I know a lot of people that thought I was crazy for doing what I did.
Yeah.
I do. And, you know, kind of nobody really tried to talk me out of it. I don't even know if that was even a factor at all or anything like that. But as it was leading up to it, and I was really, really not happy with where I was, and it was really deteriorating my mental health. Yeah. And that's way more important than any paycheck. I'm sorry. Because you know what? There's always a way. And that comes from like, I've been at Kohl's before and, you know, I'm, you know, hi, how are you? Or whatever. And people, you know, when they don't like their jobs, especially like in retail and stuff, they're like, You're working with people.
Yeah.
You would think that they'd be like a people person. And it's really disheartening to go through the line and they don't even like make eye contact or say hello, you know, and that has more to do with them than it does me. I always knew that, obviously, and that's like one situation, but I've thought about it before. And I mentioned to the woman at Kohl's this was like a couple years ago, because I did love my job that I was at for a long time until things changed, basically. And that it was just like my time to part ways. But I remember saying, I'm like, oh, I love my job. And she goes, I love hearing that, because nobody ever says that. And I said, you know what? There is a million jobs out there. You're not telling me this is the only one that's out there. Yeah, it might be difficult to find something, but I promise you it exists.
Yeah.
It does.
I know.
And sorry, it's like me and my passion today. So
it's funny because just hold on to everything that you just said.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you my second quote.
Okay, yes.
So what were we talking about? You took a leap of faith,
Yes.
right? You took responsibility for yourself, for
Right.
your life. You left a job that was deteriorating your mental health and
Wow, you remembered everything I said.
Very good listener. Okay, so my second quote says, "Your life begins to change the day you take responsibility for it."
Yep. Yeah, I couldn't do it
you
anymore.
Did. Right. You said, okay, this is enough's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Enough is enough.
It was just
so many people can say that, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whatever, whether it's their weight, whether, whatever it is, like when you decide enough is enough and you take responsibility for whatever it is, you take the responsibility for it, you change it.
Right. And
your life
and it's not going to be at the flip of a switch, but things are falling into place. It's unbelievable.
But it's going to be rewarding.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's going to be tears of joy, sometimes of happiness, but
sometimes you're crying on the kitchen floor.
Yeah. And sometimes you're just like, what the hell did I do?
Mm-hmm. But actually, I never had that. Out of all of the things, I never had regret. Yeah. No, not then. I have had regrets in my life earlier on. Yeah. But now, like, especially, like, I fucking love where I am. I know you're laughing at me, but I feel like free.
Yeah.
It feels so good.
Yeah. Well,
and listen, and I'm saying things are not perfect. No. I still struggle financially. I'm rebuilding my life. I am, I don't have my partner yet. Yeah. He's out there somewhere. But I'm doing all the things that I need to do to continue living my life. And honestly, in the last, I don't know, 3 months, I'd say, like, even like the whole house feels lighter, like the kids, like, and we're having so much fun together. And I don't know, I just love everything about it. Awesome. Everything.
I feel like other than my 2 quotes, you could probably have done this podcast by yourself.
Shut up.
She didn't even need me here today.
Stop. I feel like chatty. You know what the thing is like, other than the guy at AT&T today, I didn't really talk to that many people. So, yeah. So anyway,
take responsibility.
Yeah. Take responsibility.
Enough is, and decide what you're going to do to change it, to make yourself happier, healthier. Be honest with yourself. And this is part of that brain dump too. Yeah. Like, so that I'll just utilize that, because like when I am like, oh, there's so many tasks, how am I ever going to get this done? I start writing it down and I start, okay, how am I going to accomplish this? Okay, well, is this more money than I have right now? Can I budget for it in a few months? What can I do right now to make an impact? And the low-hanging fruit helps, and that gives you the motivation to keep going. But take fucking responsibility for yourself. Stop blaming everybody else for all the stuff that you're miserable about in your life. I agree. You're in control. I agree. You're in control of what 3 things? Your thoughts, your actions, and your feelings. Yep. Yeah. You have control of that. I actually started making a reel today about that, and I got like 4 minutes in, and that's when my phone died. So I'll have to like work on that. But I think that's why I'm so fired up, because I never got to say everything that I needed to say.
So check back next week when we have another podcast. We're working on some fun things, to bring to you. If you love what you're watching, please share it with a friend. That means a lot to us. If you have any comments or questions or want something specific covered or anything to share, if you subscribe to the newsletter at myinnerstruggle.com, please, reply with a win that you had for the week or something even that you're struggling with, a story, anything. I love hearing that stuff. Make sure you subscribe while you're watching us on YouTube or Spotify. What else?
Facebook.
Facebook? Facebook? No, I didn't say Facebook.
Join the Struggle community
on Facebook and Instagram.
And have a great week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.